Hey, good afternoon, everybody, or morning, whatever it is where you are. This is Walt Mueller from the Center for Parent-Youth Understanding, and I want to welcome you to this webinar we're going to have for the next half hour or maybe a couple minutes longer on helping students transition to college. I know we have a couple of hundred folks signed up to join us, and people coming online from all over the country, Canada, and even other places in the world, I believe, when I looked at the list. So we're glad you're here. This is a big issue, and I'm thrilled that Derek Melleby, who's the director of our College Transition Initiative here at CPYU, is with us as well to walk you through this. Let me just give you a little bit of background quickly, and then I'm going to run us through just by asking some questions of Derek so he can make you familiar with some things that are happening here with the CTI, and then also a little bit more about what it's about and how we can help you help students transition to college. The College Transition Initiative is one of a few initiatives we have here at CPYU that really are targeted to some specific issues that we've identified in youth culture that have kind of risen to the surface over the years as major issues that really need some pretty directed attention. I was hearing years ago more and more from youth workers and from parents as I would travel and speak when they would talk about their concerns related to their kids and culture. I was hearing more and more about the frustration that youth workers and parents and even pastors were having as they would say goodbye to their graduating high school seniors. They would send them off to college, and then it was as if, simply stated, these students, many of them were hitting the pause button on their faith or even hitting the stop button on their faith. Their faith seemingly was no longer important to them. And people were starting to talk about that. So at about the same time, a little bit more was being done in terms of some research, people starting to write about this. And we began to talk here at CPYU about our need to address this issue. And it wasn't until the issue became extremely personal for us as we started to know students firsthand, including one of my own kids who had a difficult transition to college. It wasn't as smooth as we would have liked, that we said, you know what, this is a very real issue and we need to begin to talk about it. So I know you folks are on here because it's an issue for you, and I know that today Derek will be able to walk you through some things to really help you with this and get you started on a journey or get you continuing on a journey to address issues of college transition. Derek was working in campus ministry through the Coalition for Christian Outreach here in central Pennsylvania, specifically at Elizabethtown College. He and I connected and started to have a friendship. Derek would come into the office. I had worked with the Coalition for Christian Outreach several years before Derek, and so we had that natural connect. And Derek would come in and we would talk about these issues. He was concerned about these things. He was reading about them, studying them, and he was talking to students as well and seeing that many of them were having difficulty transitioning. So when we decided to say, hey, yeah, let's do this, Derek was the logical next step for us, and so we brought Derek on, and for several years now he's been directing the College Transition Initiative. So I'm going to ask Derek a few questions here, and then we're going to end with 3 activities that Derek has come up with. He's going to direct you to some resources and things that will lead you through some activities you can do with your students as you get ready here in the next couple of months to graduate those seniors and send them off to college. So, Derek, I just want to make sure you're on and we can hear you. Okay, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. And
okay,
I got to
good.
be honest, with the technology today, it sounds like you're in the next room.
Well, the amazing thing about that is I am in the next room, so that's great. Brilliant. And that's why we have him leading up our College Transition Initiative, folks. So I just wanted to be sure we could hear him. So, Derek, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about your passion for this and why you're so passionate about the issue of college transition?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'll tell you 2 quick stories. The first story would be my own story. You know, I went to Bloomsburg University. It's a state school in Pennsylvania, and maybe about 8,000 students. And I went there mainly to play basketball. I had a basketball scholarship. It's a true story. If you know me, I passed the tall people. You know, that's how I was able to get on the team. But I went to Bloomsburg University, and my faith came alive in college. I was surrounded by godly people on the basketball team that kind of took me under their wing. I was really involved in Athletes in Action, which is a campus ministry connected with Campus Crusade for Christ, and it was just such an amazing time in my life of spiritual growth. You know, college can be a time when your faith can thrive, and sometimes when you talk to people in the church or other people maybe in youth ministry or things, you kind of get the impression that leaving for college might mean leaving the faith, and that was not my experience at all. And because of the experience that I had in college, that led me to college ministry, because I wanted to help other students with that transition and with a better, deeper understanding of how to make the most of the college years from a Christian perspective. So that's my own story and kind of what motivates me and continues to motivate me. You know, students need a vision for how to make the most of their time in college as followers of Jesus, and that's what I hope to pass along. The other story, so that's my own story, but the other story that if you heard me speak, I refer to this a lot because rarely does a day go by that I don't think about this and reflect on this conversation that I had maybe 5 or 6 years ago with a college student named Yami. And Yami was from Nigeria, and he happened to be from a place where the persecution of the church is very prevalent. It was going on. In fact, it's still going on today. But at the time, 5 or 6 years ago, the day that I met Yami, I was speaking at a college, and the day that I met him, the morning of the day I met him, I had read an article that had made national news about the persecution of the church in Nigeria, where people would come to faith in Jesus and they would face all kinds of persecution. Oftentimes it was death. Oftentimes they were killed by their own family. So here's Nigeria, and he's from that part of the world, and he asked if we could grab coffee to talk. And I'll never forget this conversation. We sat down. I wanted to come up with a profound question to ask him to get our conversation going, and I came up with what I thought was a good conversation, and I said this to Yami. I said, Yami, being a Christian in America is easy, isn't it? It's easy to be a Christian in America. And I'll never forget what Yami said. He looked me right in the eye, and in this cool African accent that I wish I could do, he said, Derek, being a Christian in America is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And for a few hours, we just sat down, and he unpacked what that meant to him and just kind of how it's been as he's been a college student in America. He said the first thing is everything your mind thinks, you can find ways to feed it. That as a man who's trying to be faithful to Christ on a college campus, he's in this culture where not only is everything accessible, but everything seems to be permissible. So you have this permissible and accessible coming together for Yami. It was a challenge to navigate those years. But the other thing that Yami talked about that really stuck with me too is he said the thing that I need the most to help me navigate these college years as a follower of Jesus is a community of support, a community that can surround me and equip me and encourage me. And he said he had been at school for 2 years and he hadn't found a community like that yet. And so part of what motivates me is my own story about my faith coming alive in college and helping students see that that really is possible. That's how it should be. But then also just being real and honest about the temptations and the challenges that students face, particularly in that Yami story, and then the need for this Christian community that surrounds us and helps us, and to help students find that community on campus.
That's always a great story for me to hear because I think it really does bring to life just how difficult it is here. And I think many of us, in addition, you know, we've been talking about this in the office here as we talk about culture and the level of kids' faith, that we tend to get lulled to sleep too. Derek, let me ask you about this. There's a lot of youth workers who have logged on today, and you know, we are people who dedicate our lives to the spiritual nurture of young people. I mean, every trajectory of what we do is about that, and we know we're there to assist parents. I'm not here to debate that at all, because parents are primarily responsible for the spiritual nurture of their kids. But we pour our lives into these kids, and then we see them go off, and they walk away from the faith. It's very frustrating. A lot of the frustration that I've heard over the years that actually got us started in this venture is now being qualified, quantified, put into numbers and statistics. So we hear a lot now in terms of statistics about students leaving the faith. Is it those statistics that really motivate you? What is it that's motivating you?
Yeah, that's good. You know, in the last I don't know, 10 or 15 years, it does seem that there's been a lot of research around this area and people wanting that number, people wanting the statistic, and nobody wants to be a statistic, but of course the statistics, if we pay attention to, they're worth paying attention to because they do wake us up. I mean, you were talking about being lulled to sleep by the culture, and sometimes these statistics, they can help us. They can get us to pay more attention to this issue. You know about the sticky faith research that was done at Fuller Theological Seminary with the Fuller Youth Institute, and they followed students for 4 years from their senior year of high school to their senior year of college, and it's phenomenal research and very helpful resources that they came up with, and their statistic, you know, they're kind of on the conservative end and they want to be careful not to sound too alarmist, but they talk about 40 to 50% of students probably at least struggle with their faith in some way but leave church involvement during those years. And then remember the Barna Group, they had the research maybe 15 years ago now, maybe it's even 20, where it kind of really started this conversation where they came out with some statistics, and a lot of people challenged and questioned statistics. I mean, these things are hard to measure, they're hard to quantify, but at least Barna did wake us up to this idea that students do walk away from the faith in college. And then recently, David Kinnaman, the current president of Barna Group, in his book, You Lost Me, he says that 60% of all Christian teens and 20-somethings leave active involvement in church. And so there are some of the numbers, but here's the reality. The statistics don't actually motivate me that much. Here's what we do know. We know that the years between 18 and 25 are considered the critical years. That scholars and researchers and the experts, they tell us that these years are critical years, that decisions are made during this time that shape people for the rest of their life. You know, we all are walking stories, and we all have all of these chapters in our life story that have shaped us. And so on this slide here, you're seeing birth and baby, toddler, school, friends, high school, college, and then we get to this college chapter of our life story. And it's true, these are significant formative years in a young person's life. One of the books that really has motivated me and helped me is from sociologist Tim Clydesdale. He wrote a really important book called The First Year Out, Understanding American Teens After High School. Tim is a graduate of Wheaton College and Princeton University, and he's now a sociologist at the College of New Jersey. This is a really helpful book, and I'd encourage you to read it. He spent years walking with students from their senior year of high school to their senior year, to their freshman year of college, and just trying to gain some insight about what's going on and why is this transition difficult. It's not a book necessarily about faith, but it has a lot of implications for how we prepare students for this next chapter in their life story. And he says something at the end in one of his conclusions, and this happens to be a challenge to clergy. He says at the end of the book, he writes this. He says, more can be done to encourage those teens who do want to examine the purpose or direction of their lives by engaging them at deeper levels before the first year out of high school. And that's been a real encouragement and motivation for me. You know, more can be done to help these students think more deeply about this next step. These are formative years, and regardless of what the statistics say, the reality of these formative years aren't going away, and we should take advantage of this opportunity to just to think more deeply with students, to ask them better questions, to engage them on deeper levels before this next step after high school.
Oh, that's good. So doing more, I know that's what really has motivated us here to get the College Transition Initiative started and to fuel this thing and to develop it over the years. How can the College Transition Initiative help the people who are listening to, you know, the youth workers, the pastors, the parents? So what sort of things? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the mission of CTI, we started this in 2005, has been to provide resources for students, parents, church leaders, and educators to help students be more spiritually prepared for life after high school. You know, if you think about the college choice, and right now, well, it's getting kind of late in the day, but at least in the fall, or maybe even now, students are still restless. I just had a conversation yesterday with a student who's still trying to decide how he will where he will go to college, what he will study, and those kinds of things. But if we think culturally just about how we make this decision, you know, here's the college graduate. Up there it says, you know, we think about the degree and the program. Does the college have the program that I want to study, the degree that I want to obtain? Then this next question, it's a really important question, and we need to pay very close attention to this, is the cost of the program, the cost of the college, and then the job prospects for the degree or the program that you get. And this is a really important question that we need to ask and continue to ask, because I have so many stories, and we all do, about students graduating with debt, and that is it's an economic, financial problem, but it's also a spiritual problem. It's leading students to all kinds of tough decisions later in life. So we have this degree. Does the school have my program? What are the costs? What are the job prospects? What's that going to look like? And then we kind of move down here. You know, what type of school do you want to go to? Do you want to go to a small school, small liberal arts college? Do you want to go to a large school? Do you want to go to a city that's in a rural setting, or a city that's in a small town or a big city? What kind of campus life do you want at your college? Then you think about the location. Do you want to be, you know, X number of miles away from home? Do you want to stay close to home? That's the way culturally we kind of walk through the process of thinking about this. But as Christians, as followers of Christ, what the College Transition Initiative is about is this block down here in the lower right. Do we think about some of these more deeper questions, because these are critical years, because they do shape us for the rest of our lives, because of the challenges and temptations that we know that are ahead, because of those statistics that tell us that students walk away from the faith? Are we giving this box the credit that it deserves? And that would be, what are the opportunities at the college where I'm going for spiritual growth? What does that look like? It could be at a Christian school, it could be at a secular school, but do we think in terms of how will this next 4 or 5 or 6 years of my life shape me spiritually? And do we think about that? What place and of priority does that have in our decision-making process? And then also community. You know, will I be surrounded by good people who will help nurture my faith and bring me along in the faith? And then this question of calling. You know, it's not just about a degree and job prospects, but it's about following God, following Jesus where He calls us. And so you have opportunities during these college years to think about your life as a calling, your calling as a college student, and then your calling after college. You know, one writer puts it like this: college is a calling to prepare for further calling. And so the College Transition Initiative tries to provide resources for students and parents and youth workers who want to think more about college, who want to think more Christianly about college. And some of those resources are the website, collegetransitioninitiative.com. There's all kinds of valuable free resources there. Every day I put a new research or news topic up, just something that caught my eye in the world of higher education, and then I collect them. You can see by topic on the sidebar if you're looking for particular things. I have articles. I do a new article, a new expert interview. I hope to do that and try to do that once a month. So a new article about something in college education or higher education, but then also expert interviews, people that have studied these things, giving us insights to help us think better about these college years. There's also media posts you can find. I highlight different media things that might help you start conversations with students or for your own understanding of these issues, and then a blog where I try a couple times a week to just offer some commentary on some trends in higher education. So there's the website. There's also a seminar, The College Transition, Your Purpose, Your Faith, Your Community. I try to bring together students and parents to have more meaningful conversations about life after high school. And this seminar, it's for any student that's thinking about college, that maybe isn't even sure if college is the next step, but it's about asking these better, bigger questions about college. You know, you were talking about being lulled asleep by the culture. One of the things that has happened with this college decision is it has just become this assumed next step for life after high school. You know, for so many of us, and it's a privilege, it's a gift, but we just think, you know, I'll go to high school, then I'll go to college. That's what my life will be like. And we don't really think about some of these deeper issues like, why are you going to college? What kind of person do you want to be? What do you believe? You know, how will your faith grow or not grow during the college years? Who are you? Where does your identity come from? With whom will you surround yourself? Who will your community be? And so my hope is that these seminars can be a catalyst for deeper conversation. It's another thing that I'm noticing as I've had the opportunity to go around to talk to students and parents, and it's just that we don't have a lot of places, particularly in the church. We haven't done a great job of providing opportunities for students and parents to just have more meaningful conversations about how their faith relates to all areas of life. And so this opportunity, this time, right before students head off to college, can be a great opportunity to just bring students together to ask and wrestle with these deeper conversations.
Derek, can I interrupt you there for a minute? I
Yeah.
just want to make a comment about that because I've sat through the seminar several times, and it's great. And one of the things, I mean, as you're talking about this, I remember back, nobody had these conversations with me, and certainly, 30, 40 years ago, when we went off to school again, it was then expected as a normal next step. If you're going to make anything of your life, this is where you have to go. One of the things that's come out of that is we've got a whole generation of parents, of which I'm a part, that assumes that and then really squelches the giftedness, the calling, the leanings, the God-given bent that so many of the students that we minister to, or many of them we're raising, have, and it's not a bent towards academics or a life calling or vocation that requires a college education. And certainly now, just with the cost of college, and I know you talk about that a lot, and there's a lot of resources on the website for that. Let me just say, as a dad with 4 kids, the first 3 went to college. The 4th has not gone yet, is not ready to go, doesn't really sense that there's something to do with his life that college would prepare him for yet. And, with the cost in the college debt situation, we need to ask these questions about trade school or moving into the workforce or, whatever else it might be. So I just want to mention that throw that in, so the folks who are on here on the webinar are aware of that we need to be asking those questions as well. And I say that because I know that in the seminar you do bring that up, and I appreciate that as a dad. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's good. And, it's called the college transition, and that's kind of a felt need, and people are looking for resources for that. I should maybe even think about rephrasing it. It's really about asking better questions about life after high school, wherever that takes you. And the other thing that I've noticed with these conversations, I do create, and I'm very intentional about creating space for the students and the parents who aren't sure about what they want to do next and aren't even sure that college is the right next step. I recently had a student come up to me with tears in his eyes after a seminar, and he said, I knew that going to college for me right now would be a waste of my time and my parents' money, but I didn't know how to talk to them about it. And at least this seminar kind of provided an opportunity to have a third voice in the conversation, to bring students and parents together around round tables to just talk about it, to just raise some questions, to just think, how can you make the most of these university years? We can't just allow the culture to dictate what's best for us as far as education, vocation, those kinds of things. Once again, I don't want to discourage people from college completely, but we do have to, especially as the church and as followers of Jesus, I think it makes sense to question a little bit, does everyone have to go to college, and what does that mean, and what does that look like? But the reality of these seminars, I consider a seminar a success, and I've said it already, is if a student or a parent comes up to me afterwards and just says, we needed to have these conversations, but we weren't exactly sure how to do it. Thank you for providing this opportunity. And that's what I enjoy doing, creating some space and being a catalyst for those deeper conversations. So there's the website, there are seminars, and then there are a few books. A book I co-wrote with a friend of mine, a professor at Geneva College. It's called The Outrageous Idea of Academic Faithfulness. This is used in many colleges and universities as a first-year textbook. It's about the integration of faith and learning, and it can just help students gain a vision for what difference it makes, the difference that it makes to be a follower of Jesus in the classroom, and then just how being a lifelong learner affects you in all areas of your life. And so it's really about being faithful to God, being faithful to Jesus in our academic pursuits. And then this other little book, it's a little gift book, Make College Count, A Faithful Guide to Life and Learning, where I suggest 7 questions that all students should wrestle with before they head off to college, or they run the risk of having these questions answered for them by others when they get there. And so it's those kinds of questions, the bigger questions: why are you going? What do you believe? Who are you? With whom will you surround yourself? How will you choose a major? How will your life influence others? So just taking some time to wrestle with these questions. I jokingly said on Facebook the other day that it's a gift book for students who wouldn't read gift books. And I hope that's accomplished. It's just some questions, some things to think about. There's college student interviews. They talk about their own experience in light of those questions. And so it's a little book to give away as gift, but then also maybe to use in discussions in youth groups and things. And You know, the graduation season is upon us here coming up, and we do offer some resources, some gifts for grads, and we combine, you can get Make College Count by itself. We also combine it with the Interlink Congratulations CD, and all of these resources are available at the CPYU Resource Center.
Great. Yeah, you know, as you told that story about that young man coming up to you and crying after the seminar, I have people approach me all the time after my seminars in tears, but it's not because they have a great question. I just think it was so painful for them to sit through that. So actually, hopefully that's not true. Let me move on and ask you another question, because the folks who are listening here, of course, they're very concerned, hey, what can I do? Give me some things to do. And certainly if they go to the website, read the books, talk about the books, all of that, very, very helpful. But one of the things you said you were going to put together for us was a 3-week guide for youth group meetings, or some sort of curriculum, loose type of curriculum that we can use with high school seniors. Go ahead and talk about that. Talk about what you put together.
Yeah, I wrote this up in a blog this morning, so it's posted on the website now. It spells it out a little bit more, so you can get it there. I'll also do a follow-up email with everybody that was a part of the webinar this morning, and I'll give you links to, or this afternoon, and I'll give you links to all of these resources that I mentioned. But real quickly, I thought what I'd do is just share briefly these 3 activities that you can do with seniors. You know, that last couple months, maybe they're starting to be disengaged. Senioritis is setting in, and but there are some things that we can do. These are some ideas, some meetings, some activities that we can do with seniors that have been successful to me, and I've talked to other people that have done things like this with seniors before they head off. So maybe each of these could be a particular meeting, or maybe you could try to do all 3 in one night. But the 3 most important things to think about is we need to create, and I've been saying this, but we need to create space for better conversations. So just to open the door to asking these bigger, better questions about life after high school. Then you'd want to have an honest and open conversation to talk honestly about faith after high school. You know, once again, maybe students aren't even thinking about it. Will they take their faith with them? What will faith look like? What are some of those deeper doubts and questions that they might have about their faith? So creating some space for students to talk honestly and openly about that during these next few months before they head off to college is crucial. The other thing is just to help students connect with Christian community on campus. Now, this sounds like an obvious thing, but it surprises me that many students and youth workers and parents don't necessarily think in those terms, but you can begin to make these connections now, and I'll say more about that here in a second. But real quickly, here's what the opportunities could look like, or what the activities could look like. The first thing would be to host a panel discussion. This is a very easy thing to do, and I've done them at seminars and I've done them individually. They often go really well. You get college students together who recently graduated from your high school youth ministry, or maybe they're just around because they're in college near you. Coming up, many students will graduate in May, so even if they've gone away from college, or they'll be finished with college in May, so even if they've gone away to college, they'll be back soon, and it would be a great way to connect with them and have them come into your youth group. It wouldn't just have to be just with the seniors, but with all students, and just allow them to ask questions about transitioning. Another group of people to include in the panel discussion would be older people in your congregation. People that are 20 or 25 plus years removed from college. Have them sit on a panel and ask them one question. If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you have done differently? And that creates all kinds of opportunities for good conversations for students to hear directly from newly college students, and then from people. It's a great way to connect with the older generations, to bring them in, to just have them offer some insight about their own transition in their own kind of critical years between 18 and 25. And then I'd hand out this article to students. It's a simple little article I wrote, Conversations for the College Bound, 10 Talks to Have Before Arriving on Campus. It's a few pages. You can read the whole thing in less than 10 minutes. You can actually have the students read it by themselves and then come back and report to the group. I just offer 10 conversation partners that they should have before they head off to college. So it'd be and then have a conversation about that. Maybe even have them read the article, pick one of the conversations they'd like to have. During the next week, tell them to pursue that conversation, and then come back to the next week and report back to the group how the conversation went. Or if you're mentoring, discipling a student one-on-one, this is an easy thing to do, to have them go have a conversation, take one of these, and then report back in a conversation. So that would be the first activity around better conversations. For Faith After High School to have these better kind of conversations about what that looks like, I'd encourage you to watch and discuss a Veritas Forum video. Veritas Forums are university events. They're held all over the country at different colleges and universities that engage students and faculty in discussions about life's hardest questions and the relevance of Jesus Christ to all of life. And I watch these often. What's great about them is you have somebody who's serious about their faith. They just make a case. They explain it or they defend it, but they just, in a university setting, they explain why they believe what they believe. And that's a great exercise just for students to see that that's the kind of thing that happens on college campuses. The one I'd recommend to start with is by Tim Keller, the pastor at Redeemer Presbyterian Church in New York City, one of my favorite writers and pastors. He gave a really good, simple talk. It's about 35 minutes, just about belief in the age of skepticism. It helps students see the kinds of questions that are asked and why Tim Keller would structure it this way. You can have students who watch it and don't like it, but even that will be a good conversation as they talk about arguments that were made, strengths of arguments, weaknesses, those kinds of things. And on our website, and once again, you'll get this link, I have featured Tim Keller's video, and then I give you 5 questions, suggested questions to discuss with students. And then another activity I thought connected to this, and I've done this before, is give this assignment to students. Say, if you had to go to a university, if you were asked to go to Harvard University and make a case for the Christian faith or explain the Christian faith, how would you do it? How would you outline the talk? Sketch an outline. We even had students one time do the actual talk or give a little bit of the talk to the rest of the Sunday school class that I was teaching in. And it just gets you thinking about the kinds of questions students ask and the way you would frame arguments and understand. And then what's great about the Veritas Forums, too, real quickly, is that they have Q&A afterwards. And Tim Keller is a master at this, and this is just a great exercise to see him do this. People ask him questions, and you can learn a lot by the kinds of questions that college students are asking, but then the way in which Tim Keller responds, I think, is a helpful model to us. So that would be my idea of an activity. It's an hour long. Watch the video and talk about it, and that can lead to some deeper discussions about faith after high school. And then real quickly, the last one, these community connections, helping students make these community connections. It'd be easy to start a study, start a conversation, a Bible study about the importance of community. For too many of us, we think that the Christian faith is just an individual thing. It's me and Jesus, and maybe I'll get involved with the community. But we know that there is no follower of Jesus without followers of Jesus, that there isn't a faith without the community of faith. And these are important things to understand as you make this transition from high school to college. And as youth workers and as parents, as college ministers, we can help students make these connections before they get to college. Individually, just get a sense of where the students are going. You can look on websites. You can make phone calls. You can email. Consider having a youth group night. And I know of youth groups that have done this where they just take a night. Everybody brings their computer or some kind of something, access the web, and they just make the connections. They actually look things up. They email people and they say, I'm going to be coming to this campus next year. What are some things that I can get involved in? But that community piece is key. And then there's a little article here on our website, Finding Community in College, 5 ways to help students connect. And I spelled that out a little bit more and other activities you can do with students.
This is great. Let me ask you a question, because I think I either missed it or maybe didn't hear you say it, or maybe you didn't say it. In relation to parents, because for the youth workers who are listening, one of the things we always want them to do is take whatever you have found helpful that you think would be helpful to parents and serve as a bridge and just fire that onto them, whether it's in print or email or on a Facebook page you have set up or whatever. And certainly all the stuff that you've mentioned, especially our online stuff here for the College Transition Initiative, lends itself well to that. But did you mention, Derek, the monthly email that you're doing now? Did I miss that?
I didn't mention it, but yeah, I do a monthly email, CTI email. Right now you can sign up for that through the e-update, CPYU's e-update, and it's basically a collection. I do it once a month, so it's a collection of research and news, the blogs that I've written, articles, other things that I've found helpful. And like you said, that's an easy thing to just forward on to parents or students or anyone that you know who's thinking about these issues.
Yeah, and for those of you who get the weekly e-update, you're automatically in the loop to get that. For those of you who do not, just go to our website and you'll see right there on the front page at cpyu.org a place to sign up for the e-update, and that will get you in the loop for that. And like with everything we do, you don't have to call and ask, do I have permission to send this on? Just go ahead and do it. It's, we're here to serve you, and that's just a way to do that. A couple things I'll mention as we finish up, and I know Derek's put his contact information up there. We would love to be able to answer your questions. Unfortunately, there's so many of you on here that to ask questions would be cumbersome, and we'd keep you all on way too long. But we are very open to taking your questions. Derek's put his contact information up. You can get a hold of him all these different ways that he's listed up there on the screen. Maybe he'll say something about that before we end here. But I will say that we are here again to serve you. The website, both the CPYU.org website and the College Transition Initiative website, those are free. Some people don't realize that we are a nonprofit organization. We're funded by donors. I know that looking at the list of people who are on here today, some of our donors are on there. So we thank you, and I thank you on behalf of the rest of the folks who are on there for making this possible. So go ahead and please use those things. The seminars, unfortunately for you, they're not free, but fortunately for you, there are seminars. And so if you'd want to have information on booking one of those, just call our office or get in touch with Derek because he's always looking for opportunities to do that. And I can guarantee you that you and your parents and your students will not be disappointed. It's an intense time, but a fun time, and they walk away challenged with a lot of great information. I do want to mention, too, because I'm biased on this, but Derek's book, Make College Count, which is a great graduation gift, I want to say this, there's substance to it. I would not put my name on there as an endorser unless that was the case. And having started in youth ministry back in the mid-1970s, I've certainly seen my all versions of graduation books and other types of kitschy gifts come and go. And I got to be honest with you, I think most of them ended up in the dumpster, and most of them deserve to end up in the dumpster. This one does not. And that was one of the things when Derek was writing this we talked about a lot. Just, boy, it's going to be great because this is going to be something that doesn't belong in the dumpster. So we've got a good, this is a sales pitch, yes, we've got a good deal on that now. So if you go onto the website, and he mentioned that, the grad packs or the books alone, that's a great thing to get in the hands of your students. And I'll just say two more things. One is if you live close by, we'd love to have you bring your graduating seniors by. We have a youth worker in northern New Jersey who every year does a senior trip with his graduating seniors, anywhere from 20 to 30 of them, and they oftentimes will, they come to the Lancaster area, they call us up, tell us when they're going to be in the area, tell us what they're going to be doing on this 24, 48-hour trip they have. But one of the things they always schedule in is, would you meet us at a local restaurant? Derek and I go over there, we sit with the students, we get to know them, we talk, and then of all things, he brings these seniors over to our office afterwards for a tour of our office, which for those of you who've been here, it's nothing great. There's nothing in here that would really excite a high school student that I can think of. But they sit and we talk, and it's just they're interested. It's a great time. And one of the things that's neat about that is he's actually created this kind of culture where the students are engaging their brains to the glory of God, and so they're primed when they come in here for that. And I'll just say, beyond everything Derek's talked about today, I was thinking of this as he was mentioning Tim Keller and the Veritas Forum videos and things. There's a lot of great books out there. I mean, your students are finishing 12, 13 years of being in school to learn and getting ready to go on to learn, and a lot of that learning is reading. And we should be putting good things in their hands, having high expectations, and inviting them to read as well. So I know Derek has made lots of recommendations for that. So that's all I had to say. Derek, is there anything you want to say as we finish up?
Yeah, the contact information is there. Please don't hesitate to call or email if you have any questions about things I discussed or just about the resources in general. Walt did mention the seminar being something you would pay for, but please don't let that be a hindrance to get in touch with us. We never want budget to get in the way of an opportunity. So just ask questions and let me know if you have any, even ideas and suggestions for ways that I can provide better resources. Please send them my way too.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, folks. We appreciate you logging on. It's a huge issue. We're committed to dealing with it. We appreciate that you are as well. And again, we want to serve you. Be checking your email, because I think in a couple of weeks we're going to announce here in a few days that we're going to be having another webinar in a couple of weeks. We're not sure the exact format of that yet. We may be doing it for youth workers and parents, but just watch your email. That particular webinar will be on media evaluation. I'll be walking through some ways for you to equip your kids to integrate their faith into that 7 hours and 38 minutes a day. At least that's what the statistic was 4 years ago. It's horribly outdated now. It's probably we know it's much more than that. But how to integrate their faith into that 7 hours and 38 plus minutes a day in terms of their media involvement. So thanks so much. We're here today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to give us a call at the number on the screen, and you can email Derek as well. So thanks so much, and God bless you all, and we're here to help you as you work through this. Have a great day.